Welcome to Aso Morning this beautiful morning. We are still basking in that euphoria of Democracy Day. A lot happened. Organizations, civil society, everyone was celebrating Nigeria yesterday, and it was beautiful to watch. For some of us who are patriotic and love our country to pieces, it was wonderful to see Nigerians come out in solidarity. That's not to say that we do not have challenges, fundamental challenges that must be addressed. I'm talking from security to the economy to agricultural sector and manufacturing. There are a lot of challenges, and I don't think there's a country that's immune to challenges. However, in spite of all that, we need to look forward. We need to start thinking progressively and think of how we can better our democracy, dividends of democracy, and also ensure that people are happy. There's a phrase I heard yesterday that it's not about maintaining democracy, but are we really benefiting and enriching our democracy? Moving forward, I hope that that's the report, or that's the what we got from yesterday's celebration. It's not about how long it has been. It is indeed how well it is. So while we are enjoying uninterrupted 26 years of democracy, are we ensuring dividends of democracy to Nigerians? How is our electoral process? How can we measure a freedom of civil society organizations and the media? How are we ensuring that people participate in governance and are not disillusioned to say, oh no, this isn't what I would do? There's so much we need to work on. I am happy that public office holders in their commemoration of the day were also understood this. I listened to the president's speech. It was beautiful as usual. If there's anything you give to President Tinubu, it is that he knows and feels what you feel. He always acknowledges those things in his speeches. So it was good to watch. And in that speech, he also at some point there mentioned something critical. He has been accused, in the media especially, opposition has accused him of working towards a one-state system. And he debunked that he's not after a one-state system. However, as a politician and in the ruling party, he understands democracy, he understands politics, and he's going to be excited if other opposition parties are in disarray. He also used that, in that same vein, disassociated himself from the several speculation that he is causing rifts. He says it's self-inflicted. So it was a beautiful speech to watch. Thank you to the president for once again reassuring all of us that the economic woes are going to come to an end, and security reforms are also by the corner, and we would indeed breathe. The poor Nigerians would finally get to breathe. That was beautiful to watch. But moving on now, Democracy Day has come and gone. While some of us are still trying to recover from that celebration, we must move forward. And today we are moving on to the newspaper this morning, talking about what is going on around the country, analyzing the front pages, the stories that made front page this morning. And to start this very important segments that keeps you abreast with what's going on around Nigeria, we'll start with the This Day newspaper this morning. The This Day has here as its lead story, Tinubu to PDP. It's my pleasure seeing you in disarray. One party state, not our plan. That's coming from the president, and the writer there says, confers national honors on Yaradua, Soyinka, Kudi Rotabura, Nadeko chieftain, rights activist, journalist, among others. Pardons Ken Saro-Wiwa, other Ogonis. Decorates Akpabio, Abbas, other National Assembly presiding officers with national honors. That's it for the This Day newspaper. Okay, right below the masthead of the This Day newspaper, it says, Atiku, today Nigeria teeters on edge of dangerous principle, creeping one party. Teeters on edge of dangerous principles, creeping one party. Well, that's according to Atiku right there, who believes that there's a creeping plan to bring us to a one-party state, even though the president has said that's not in the agenda. Now, as it has been for a couple of years, for a couple of days now, the These Day newspaper has taken over. The entire front page has been taken over by the FCT, welcoming the president to the commissioning of Apo Wasa Road today. To the commissioning of Apo Wasa Road. I also saw that there was an announcement, I think, that some areas would be blocked, and so you have to make better informed decisions if you're moving around, so that you are not caught in that traffic. Is usually really bad. Barricades all over town. So as the president moves around, please ensure that you know the roads that will be barricaded so that you can avoid those roads. But that's it for the These Day newspaper this morning. We move on quickly to the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. By the way, the Nigerian Tribune newspaper has also the entire paper taken over by that announcement by the FCTA. I think I should just read it. President Tinubu commissioned Apo Wasa Road today. It says here that the Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Barrister Asonye CON, and the Honorable Minister of State, Dr. Maria Mahmood, on behalf of all residents of the FCT, welcomes His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, to the commissioning of the newly constructed left-hand service carriageway of Outer Southern Express. That's the OSEX Stage 2 from Rising Road Junction to Wasa Junction. To think, I live in Abuja, and I do not know these places. Maybe they have been renamed, but they do not sound like any of the regular places I've been to. It says Outer Southern Expressway. If someone had called me to say, oh, I'm at the Outer Southern Expressway, I bet you I would not have known. I would not have known it in Abuja. But thanks to the Minister of the FCT, a lot of roads are being opened up once again. There are construction projects being completed across the FCT. That's one thing we would definitely commend him for. And according to this announcement, it says it's happening today, Friday the 13th of June 2025, along OSEX by FAP Sunshine Estate. Okay, it's happening 2:30 p.m. so if you live around those areas, make better decisions, avoid those roads. They are going to be barricaded. Above the nameplate of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, Kudirat Abiola, Ige, Sarawiwa, Rewan, Ngosu, Shoyinka, others get national honors. We had taken that story. Okay, yes, but we also have a rider here under that story. It says, Ogoni 9 granted presidential pardon, national honors. No plan to turn Nigeria into one-party state. Tinubu is saying, no plan to turn Nigeria into one-party state. That's what the president has reassured Nigerians once more. In spite of the speculation by opposition party, it's not the president has no plans, according to this story, to turn Nigeria into a one-party state. And I've had this conversation with a lot of opposition members who accuse the president. And my question is, it is a democratic setting. Wouldn't you think that you're stifling another person's right to association if you say, oh, because he has called on certain people, governors, and all of a sudden, if they decide to associate with the APC or are endeared, or for some reason all of a sudden their ideology now aligns with yours, that's particularly a bad thing. But there's also a very concerning aspect, component to this conversation that affects democracy, the entire concept of democracy, very, very strongly. Are these individuals being coerced? we've had speculations also where, because they're afraid of the anti-graft agencies for some things they have done or planning to do or did in the past, they are now having to go to the ruling party to avoid a probe. Could that be it? Your guess is as good as mine, but the president has made it clear that the disarray in other political parties absolutely gives him joy. But that's what you should expect of a politician. It's a competition, and it has to do with numbers, and he's trying to ensure that he has enough numbers. Also in the same vein, Aline Dume, an APC chieftain, also came out to point fingers at the APC to say, it's one thing to call bigwit opposition members, but are the masses with you? That's a very good question. Are the masses with you? Yes, the governor has moved. The governor has sent a fiat to the entire state. Move with me or resign. Is that tenet of democracy? What does that say? Can't we live and let live? But I can understand how you would have opposition within your cabinet. You don't want to do that. You don't want your people you appointed, to oppose you, because and moreover, there are industry secrets, or in this case party secrets, that may be said in the cabinet if you have opposition. However, the question here is getting serious. Where comes that healthy contention that is necessary for democracy to thrive if everyone moves now to the APC? Are we still going to enjoy that? That's the question all of us should answer. But with that, we move on to the Daily Trust newspaper. Here the Daily Trust says, APC, ADC, SDP take on Tinubu on opposition comment. PDP, ADC, SDP take on Tinubu on opposition comment. Oh, I would like to read that story, but if you have the time, please go get the Daily Trust newspaper. That story is on page 3 and 4 of the paper. Get the Daily Trust newspaper. Survivor narrates moment before crash that killed 240 passengers on the plane heading to London from India carrying passengers. 240 passed away, according to the Daily Trust newspaper, and only one survivor. Most interesting about that story is he walked after that very harrowing scenes that we saw of the plane crash. There was a video that recorded it, recorded the moment it crashed, but he walked out of there. To hear more on that story is on page 21 of the Daily Trust newspaper. That is nothing short of a miracle that he survived. In fact, his brother, when interviewed, was more shaken than he was. That his brother survived, that was everything. His family members were shaken to the core. I mean, you could see that. But he walked out of there. But unfortunately, 240 people didn't, and it's quite sad. Our families, our condolences go to families of victims of that plane crash. But preliminary report has been unable to actually give us anything about why that plane had crashed. We are waiting for the more comprehensive report at the moment. June 12th, governors seek commitment to democratic ideals. Governors, how very ironic. We are hoping that our governors will uphold democratic ideals, but governors are seeking commitment to democratic ideals. From whom, I wonder? Governors seek commitment to democratic ideals. Well, to know who the governors are pointing fingers at to uphold democratic ideals, the story is on page 32 of the Daily Trust newspaper. But at the footer of the same paper, Tinubu honors Yaradua, Balarabe, Musa, Kudirat Abiola, Shoyinka, and others. And below the masthead of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning says, no democracy as long as Rivers is under emergency rule. Dixon is saying that. No democracy as long as Rivers is under emergency rule. Isn't it 6 months yet? But that's just me. It seems like it's way longer. But everyone, certain youth groups, the Ijaw groups, and several other South groups used that Democracy Day opportunity to spotlight what's going on in Rivers State, talking about the emergency rule leadership that's going on in Rivers State at the moment, asking the president to return Rivers State to a democratically a democratic rule and not what we have at the moment. I just hope that when that returns, because Rivers State unfortunately had been in the news before that decision by the president for all the wrong reasons, if you ask me. We had the saga with the State House of Assembly, not to mention the burning of the State House of Assembly complex. There were violent protests here and there, not to mention that even our mainstay oil companies were being attacked, oil pits were being attacked and all that. I can understand why the president was just done with it. And in truth, if you check it, it's been a bit quiet. It's been a bit quiet. But for the agitations here and there that it should come back to a democratic setting, it's been a bit quiet, I must admit. Could this have been a good decision? But that's it. Okay, right below the masthead of the Daily Trust newspaper, we have here, no democracy as long as Rivers is under emergency rule. That's coming from Dixon. We have also protest against hardship flops in state. Yes. There was supposed to be some protesters. Some civil society organizations had announced a nationwide protest. That protest was supposed to highlight several issues like hunger, youth unemployment, security challenges, and so many challenges that Nigeria faces. But we didn't see it so rife in some states. I have heard reports that it was well organized and it was well attended. Is that the proper word for protest? But yes, in Lagos and some parts of Abuja and some other cities, but it wasn't nationwide as it had hoped to achieve. However, has protest ever hit the need home, the entire plan? Did it hit it home? Did the presidency, did state governors really take cognizance of these things, these important issues that are being raised? What next after this protest? That's questions I often ask those who organize protests, especially in Nigeria, where everybody rolls their eyes when you say protest. Not just because public office holders do not take protests seriously, but because a lot's going to happen. You cannot ascertain and be sure that people will not hijack the process and use it for illicit activities and ransack shops and businesses, while also stifling services and businesses as well. Well, it did not just happen across the country as it was initially planned. 8 family members die in Zaria auto crash. That's a very sad one. We're leaving the Daily Trust on that sad note. Zaria auto crash, 8 family members. Wow, that's really sad to read. Our condolences go to them. It can't be easy to lose as many as 8 people in a family. That's an entire family wiped out. That's very sad. But we need to also start looking at how to improve our roads, mitigate these auto crashes that we keep recording. Do we need speed limits in these highways? What do we need to do just so that we protect ourselves as we drive along these highways? Knocks kudos as Tinubu honors June 12 heroes. That's what the Punch newspaper is leading with this morning. As we move on to that, he said knocks kudos as Tinubu honors June 12 heroes. I mean, it's always knocks or kudos, always, no matter how good intentions you have, but it's always knocks or kudos. And the writer here says Soyinka, 58 others honored. Sarowiwa Ogoni 8 pardoned. Critics flay president for Umar Odumakin, others commissions. And right beside the masthead of the Punch newspaper this morning, it says democracy fireworks. Democracy fireworks, Tinubu opposition trade blows. Democracy fireworks, Tinubu opposition trade blows. That's on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Also, protesters, APC supporters hold parallel rallies in Lagos, Abuja. Protesters, APC supporters hold parallel rallies in Lagos and Abuja. We saw all that. I like to think it's not one to douse the other. One is not was not planned to ensure the other doesn't happen, but it was side by side, and that's the beauty about democracy. That right there is a good a projection of a democratic government where everyone has a voice, everyone can express themselves, while the others see the beauty in democracy and ensure a walk of charity is one. That's what one of those protests was start charity walk for Nigeria. I don't know what that means, but it was in solidarity of Nigeria and Nigeria's democracy and the uninterrupted 26-year democratic rule. We appreciate that. While that was ongoing, we also simultaneously saw those who highlighted the challenges in Nigeria, security, unemployment, inflation, economic challenges, manufacturers' problems, and all that. But it was a beautiful projection of what democracy is. Everyone has a voice. We move on now to the Vanguard newspaper, the last paper we would be taking on today's edition of the newspaper review segment. I don't view one party state as good for Nigeria. That's what the president is saying amidst the speculation and accusation and criticism. He's telling you, by the way, I don't even view one party state as good for Nigeria. Well, I know that the national chairman had mentioned that, I mean, what's wrong with one party? China is doing it. We can't do it. However, the president personally does not appreciate one party for Nigeria. What's the fun if you are not contending with strong, formidable contenders? What's the one contesting rather with contenders? What's the fun in that? Moreover, I know that the whole idea of a proper democracy is to have strong contentions. That brings about the healthy, blossoming nation that we all hope for. So what happens? What's the fun in that if you are not challenged, right? Says it's in order to see opposition in disarray. The president is saying it's in order. He's okay to see the opposition in disarray. And that's what any politician would absolutely say. Reels out achievement in 2 years. Reels out achievement in 2 years. Tinubu has transformed decayed Nigeria, Akpabio is saying. The Senate president is saying that Tinubu has transformed decayed Nigeria. Akpabio is saying that. And right beside that story, Tinubu celebrates Vanguard publisher Sam Amuka at 90, confers him and over 60 others with national honors. Confers him and 60 others with national honors. IBB apologized to us for annulling June 12. Abiola's son is saying. IBB apologized to us for annulling June 12. Abiola's son is saying. To read more on that story, you may have to go to page 10. I had a conversation with someone yesterday who says isn't this overflogged, the Abiola story, because we still have those very serious flaws in our elections where the mandates are stolen from some candidates. Are we overflogging the Abiola issue? According to this individual, even he wasn't announced as president, so maybe we are overflogging it. But I insist that I think it's a good thing for us to be reminded of what we all agree was the freest and fairest election of all time. I do not think it's overflogging if you commemorate a day that Nigerians all came out in their numbers to support someone they believed was the person to take them to lead Nigeria to the heights that they envisage. So yes, while a lot will think it's overflogged, I think it's okay to acknowledge it and to acknowledge someone who died, or rather paid the highest price for this country. He paid the ultimate price, and it's unfortunate that since then, I don't know if we can brag about another elections that has been that free and fair. We also would not forget what happened that ensured that he did not emerge. We're hoping that never happens. For those of us who are asking for military rule as better than democracy, or maybe that is what Africa needs, I think we should think twice. We should think twice. And 1999 elections reminds us all of that. These are individuals who fought for Nigeria and paid the ultimate price, ensuring that we have this democracy that we are enjoying today. The fact that you can even open your mouth and say, take us back to the military rule, shows, first of all, that you're enjoying democracy, because that's what democracy is about. Everyone's voices is reflected and everyone is allowed to speak. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying that we do not have challenges that must be addressed. All I'm saying is that in spite of those challenges, the worst democracy cannot be compared to the best military rule. Well, a lot may argue with me, pointing at some countries that they're perceiving them at the moment are doing better in a military regime. But let's also look at leadership. It's a good leader or a bad leader, right? But the Vanguard newspaper also has, like other papers this morning, the entire front page splattered with this invite. I will once again take the invite President Tinubu Commission's Apowasa Road today. That's what that is taking, and I'll quickly just run through it for those who may want to attend this and have an opportunity to maybe peep at the president and attend the commissioning. This is happening 2:30 p.m. Friday 13th June, which is today, 2025, along Ossex by FAP Sunshine Estate. And here it says, the Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Barrister Asonye CON, and the Honorable Minister of State, Dr. Maria Mahmood, on behalf of all residents of the FCT, welcomes His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, to the commissioning of the newly constructed left-hand service carriageway of Outer Southern Expressway, Ossex Outer Southern Expressway, Stage 2, from Rising Road 1 Junction, Wasa Junction. That's it for the newspaper review segment. I hope you have learned, and like I have been hammering, make better decisions as to how you move around. When you hear about this, I'm sure the reason the FCTA is ensuring that you hear these stories is so that you can plan yourself better. If you live around those areas where the commissioning is going to be done, the president may be at those locations. Naturally, roads will be barricaded, so try to make decisions based on that. But we're going for a short break now. We would return with the startup with Farida Yaya. The startup is coming up at 9 with Farida Yaya. As you already know, that segment gives us those very important tips as to what you need to do, how people are faring in those spaces of business, what happens. One of the episodes was so interesting. Farida was talking with someone about the many taxes. In spite of the struggles that you face, they are not harmonized taxes in Nigeria, and so people are struggling. You're paying taxes, you have this electricity bill to contend with, you have this to contend with. And where I always say that we should get better in enabling business environment for us all. Business environment must be enabled for us all. What's the point if you have taxed Nigerians and they are unable to do business and they fail? Remember that in all of this, over 70% a contribution to our GDP is from the informal sector. Over 70%. And the question will be, now, if that is such an important sector, why don't you harmonize taxes? Why don't you be a little more lenient on especially small businesses? I was asking someone, I remember when the Minister of FCT was newly appointed, he said something about cleaning up, where let's not have hawkers. Let's rather have hubs where if you want to buy corn, fresh corn, you go there, instead of having these people by the road. It's not neat. Nobody sees that anywhere else in the world. All right, maybe you can't, but that doesn't make it any right. That doesn't make it any right. So while we want to ensure the aesthetics of the Federal Capital Territory is maintained, how can we keep small businesses happening? We can't have minors hawking. We can't have that. Minors are hawking. The other day, I saw a child who has no business running around vehicles trying to sell wares. I was appalled and completely sad that a child who should concentrate on play and be a child at that age has to run around vehicles and ensure that they of course he has to buy a cell before he goes home. Oh my goodness. And they run by the vehicles. That's the saddest part of it. Sometimes these vehicles aren't even stopping for them, but because the thing you want to buy, you run, and you are like, don't run so much, it's so dangerous. So a lot has to be done to ensure a proper business environment for the informal sector. These are individuals who cannot walk into the banks and ask for loans because the banks will tell you, we don't know you, you don't have a business address. So what can we do? And that's what makes this segment very important. What do you have to do as a startup in Nigeria? What are those challenges, and what are innovative ways to move past and jump past this hurdle? That reminds me of something some time ago where we're discussing, jump past these hurdles and still thrive. What are available resources for you? What government efforts are there to enhance small businesses above everything? Very important conversation. Farida Yaya is coming up next. Stay with us. We'll be right back after that. Remember, agriculture for today and tomorrow is also standing by. So promises to be very interesting. Stay with us. This is still Aso Morning.
Stands at the front lines of the climate crisis. Over 600 million Africans still lack access to electricity. 1 in 3 face food insecurity due to climate-induced droughts and floods. By 2050, over 100 million people on the continent could be pushed into extreme poverty because of climate change. Plastic waste is piling, forests are vanishing, coastal cities are sinking. Yet, we are not powerless. Africa is also the youngest continent with 60% of its population under 25. We hold the energy, innovation, and drive to reshape the future. From solar-powered villages to bold climate tech, from green entrepreneurs to eco-warriors in slums and cities, the pulse of sustainability is rising. This is Sustainability Pulse with Ebaide, the show where truth meets urgency and action meets hope. Together, we decode the data, amplify the change makers, and reclaim Africa's future, one story at a time. This is not just a show, it is a movement. Welcome to The Pulse.
In the heart of our fields lies the future of agriculture, sustainable, innovative, and powered by smart solutions. From the rich soil of Africa to high-tech farms around the globe, agriculture is evolving to meet the demands of tomorrow. At the intersection of tradition and technology, we discover smarter ways to grow more, waste less, and harvest greener. Together, we are cultivating a future where every harvest sustains the earth and its people. Join us 9:30 a.m. Monday to Fridays on Aso TV, channel 392 DSTV, Star Times, Channel 127, or YouTube live stream, GSA Initiative. Agriculture for today and tomorrow, as we share groundbreaking ideas, empowering farmers, and celebrate greenhouse solutions. Together, let's grow the future.
Hello everyone, welcome to another powerful edition of Sustainability Pulse with Ebaide, your weekly check-in on climate action, environmental justice and sustainable living on the African continent. I'm your host, Ebaide, and today we are tackling a
and she's going to share with us her key insights and feedback from the conversation that was heard. As you know, our topic today is
how can startups integrate corporate social responsibility without compromising on profit? A lot of times when we talk to startups about social impact and giving back to their community, their frustration is that maybe that would actually reduce their profit and actually the margin that they're supposed to use to be able to sustain themselves. But the conversation we had last Friday made us realize that it is possible to be able to do both in little drops that become an ocean. It is possible to do both without feeling like you've compromised on profitability. And Elizabeth is going to share with us her perspective from that conversation today. Hi Elizabeth, welcome.
Hi Farida,
good morning. Very exciting to have you today. So Elizabeth is going to be introducing herself to us and telling us more about the work that she's doing before she shares the feedback with us. Elizabeth, please take it away.
Okay, thank you very much. Hi viewers, my name is Elizabeth Asonye.
I'm the regional lead for Africa with the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety, an organization that believes that the youth have the right to be informed, empowered, and talk about issues that concerns them. So I work around gender equality, women empowerment, as well as community development.
Amazing, amazing. So again, like you can see, we have such a powerhouse here with us today. So Elizabeth, tell me a bit more about the work that you do around women and girls and why the summit was an attraction for you. Why did you want to be at the summit?
Okay, thank you very much. And you know, you are a role model and you've been doing a lot. So seeing the conference flyer and seeing you as the host of this conference motivated me to want to join you. The kind of person I've looked up to that I really want to meet in person, and with the fact that the conference brought a lot of innovators like Musa Mohammed and a lot of women who have been doing, you know, who have been doing exploits as far as development space is concerned. So I had the opportunity to meet them, and this was, you know, my motivation to learn a lot and how I can do more for my community via their stories, because a lot of people shared their experience, how they started, what they've been doing in their community, and also how to incorporate impact at the center of our startup, not just focusing on the financial gain alone.
Yes, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. I mean, I'm quite surprised to know that you actually, you know, I was one of the motivations for you being there. That there was also so much to learn from others. Like you said, it was a power-packed day. You were part of the breakout session that was moderated by Abuja Global Shapers. And Daniela did an excellent job in being able to capture the voices of that conversation that happened. What were some of the key highlights for you in that breakout session?
Okay, thank you very much. What really stood out for me is having the community, like having the community at the center of every initiative, in the sense that the goal must be to make impact and not sometimes a goal in his community, and he did it for them. Then it was noticed by the then former vice president, Professor Oshibanjo. We have the society. When the core of our initiative is to make impact and not just for the profit alone, we will be known. Then the reward will come afterwards. That's if you are not thinking about the reward at the onset of your initiative or startup. There was also an instance of a bank that wanted to establish a bank in a particular community. They were not just focusing on making profit alone, but they carried out a need assessment and they realized that, oh, this particular community does not have light. So what they did was they created solar panel for the people of the community, and that was eco-friendly, because there is nothing like there won't be something like, okay, generator noise, which is going to increase mortality rate or something. Then that also takes me back to when I was serving during my during my national youth service, where I did a community development project, and I realized, okay, the people of that community in Yobe State, in the community where I served, open defecation is very pertinent to that community. And I was like, okay, how can I help these people? How can I help the people of the community? And I built public convenience for the people of the community. that really brought me into limelight. I didn't even know that people were going to carry it. It was on the social media, and that brought NYC Presidential Award my way. And today the job I'm doing currently is because of that initiative. I didn't even have it at the back of my mind then that, oh, I want to be recognized, but I just did it because the community would need that initiative. So of course I've not really been doing more and more after NYC because people have been busy and all of that, but that conference was a kind of a rethinking, pushed me into action. That even since last week I've been thinking of what to do more and more for the people of my community, especially the underserved community, because I came from the underserved community. So that conference, that summit really opened my heart to doing more for my community and not to have profit at the center of my heart.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Olufunke. And I think while you were speaking, one thing that was very clear to me from your story, congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
From your story to the bank story, and the person who ended up being sponsored by the then vice president. What is clear is that when you do social impact, do not do it with the intention of reward, right? Your intention and your desire should be solely to be able to support the community, not because you're expecting a reward. And that makes it easier for people to see not just your sincerity, but also to see that this is something that you're doing because you deserve, because you feel the people that you're doing it to deserve it. And it's easier for people to reward you because they know that you don't have an ulterior motive. And I think that's really brilliant. And I'm happy that you're able to share these 3 stories, because that helps us to be able to see from different points of view the importance of doing something, just because you want to support. I want to ask you a little bit about, women and girls, because you mentioned, and I've seen from your profile, you do a lot of work with women and girls. Looking at the current funding freeze, and you can see a lot of CSOs, even a lot of startups running around trying to figure out how can they still give back to their community without being too gender responsive. Because as you know, the United States, which is one of the which has one of the largest funding pool, has specifically said they do not want to focus or fund projects that are too diverse, right? That use only the diversity benchmark, meaning that if you're doing things just for women and girls, or just for people with disability, or just for black people, you need to be able to tweak it a bit, right? Based on the conversation that we're hearing from January with President Trump. How do you think, within the African context, within the Nigerian context, how do you think we can be able to be more gender responsive in our funding without giving up too much of the power that is currently held by the authorities outside of Nigeria?
Wow. Okay, so as we can all see now that a lot of projects already stopped because of the USAID, and last year we were carrying out we were on a project last year, and it's been funded by the USAID. So we were meant to continue even till 2026, but it has to stop because of funding freeze and all of that. But then I feel that we have the resources in Africa, and our government should do more, right? There should be a kind of policy or a reform that allocates this particular amount for NGOs, people that are doing great things in the community, people like you, people that are doing well for the people of the community. Because the thing is, the governments will not come down to the community. You live in the community. You are very close. I'm very close to you. You are very close to other youth than the government. So I feel that the government should do more by allocating funds for NGOs, so that we will not really feel the impact of the funding that has been freeze. So I believe our government can do more, actually, and I'm not even of the opinion that we should rely more on the international donors when we have resources. I mean, in our country, you know.
Yes.
So it's just about being charged the government to do more, and also we have well-to-do people in Nigeria, like Dangote or Tedola, people that have you know, startups. You know, they can do more as well. You know, fund NGOs, and also I will level it down to the title holders as well. The maybe traditional rulers in a community. You know, they are very close to the government as well, so they can actually take up you know, responsibility on their own. Not just they can embed the civil responsibility in their own role as well, not just okay sitting there as a traditional ruler. They can take, you know, maybe 5 girls and decide to, you know, sponsor them to school. You know, they can take that responsibility on their own. So I feel that it's high time we stop, you know, depending on international funds, and our own country should do more, allocate funds to NGOs that are doing well. You know, your summit was a very powerful one. Someone was discussing with me yesterday. You know, we went there together, and he's already in Katsina, and I said he wants to start, you know, something as a result of the summit. And I also said it as well, but you know, I want to start. I want to do more as well. So.
Oh wow, amazing! Thank you so much. That I mean, it's very interesting to hear, you know, the ripple effects of doing something small and how it ripples across. But I really agree with you what you said around. We have the resources to be able to fund ourselves. We need to pull ourselves together. This funding is an opportunity for us to look inwards, for us to look locally, and to say, how can we allocate the resources we have better to be able to fund more. So we'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Thank you. Wow, am I supposed to say that?
Thank you so much for staying tuned with us. And again, the conversation we're having today is, how can startups integrate CSR into their businesses without compromising profitability? When we talk about the startup ecosystem and people who are starting businesses and their focus is too much on profit, we want to change the conversation and talk about innovating sustainably, especially looking at the environment where you are innovating. Instead of taking, you should give back and create more social impact while ensuring that you are still making profit. My guest is still Elizabeth Olufunke, and she is going to be continuing the conversation with us today. Elizabeth, welcome back to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Farida.
So let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk about you as a customer of a business, right? It could be a big business, it could be a small business. What are some of the ways that you have seen a business give back to the community and it actually positively affected you?
Okay, so you know, the whole conversation is about, you know, making impact, focusing on impact in the community, and not just, you know, focusing on the profit alone. So I would take, for instance, maybe someone that has a petroleum station, for instance, and you know, you're making profits, you're selling to the community, and I think one of the ways by which you can add to the community, to that community, is by carrying out a needs assessment. What do they need? You cannot have a petroleum station in a community and the road is bad, for instance.
Yes.
You know, you must also consider that okay, this is what I want to do for this community. I want to I want to expand the road, or I want to ensure that, okay, they have a good road. And in that community as well, if they don't have water in that community, you can actually, give them good water. So at the same time, you are making profits, you are selling to the community, and you're also giving back to the community. So I feel you should have startups should have the community at the center of their initiative. How they should not just focus on how they will make profits alone, or just build. Okay, it's not about building. It's not about improving the community, developing the community, rather than developing their brand. And by then, when the goal is for you to develop your community, to develop the community where the startup is, then I believe that in the long run, you make a name for your brand, and there will be development and growth for your development, for your brand, when you have the community at the center of your heart.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. So I'm going to touch a bit on government and policy makers.
Okay.
We brushed on it earlier. But what are some of the policies that you believe that government can put in place to be able to support the startup ecosystem better, and also CSOs to drive social impact?
Okay, so like I said earlier, that it's high time we stop relying on the international fund, and each year there should be a budget that will allocate this particular fund for NGOs, because sincerely these NGOs, people like you, you are closer to the community than the government, so they should allocate a particular amount resources for them, so that they can do more. Because now a lot of projects can freeze as a result of low funding, right? Yes. So I feel they should do that, and at the same time encourage them as well. Reward them. There should be recognition as well. It's not just giving an award to government officials, but all these NGOs, like people like your startup, for instance, your NGO, should be recognized more. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. What closing words do you have for startup founders and also for CSOs, people who work in the CSO space? What encouragement or last words do you have for them?
Okay, so my encouragement for them is that they are doing a lot. They are making impact, and regardless of the fact that we have low funds and all of that, they are still making impact regardless. So my word is for them to continue to do it, and we will definitely attain that goal. We will see a Nigeria whereby we have enough
support.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Olufunke. It's been exciting having you in the studio today, sharing with us your perspective on not just the Innovate for Impact Summit, but also ways that you believe startups can be able to build the Nigeria that we want. Your charge to government is also very succinct. I like the fact that you're talking about how we can set aside particular funding by the government to be able to support people who are already on the ground in the community doing the, I would say, the Lord's work. So thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. All right, viewers, it's been an exciting morning here, having this conversation with Elizabeth, hearing from her how the Innovate for Impact Summit has been very useful to be able to recharge her to go back into our community to do more, but also the key takeaways from that conversation on how startups can integrate CSR without compromising on profits. It's been an exciting conversation, and I hope you will stay with us same time next week for another exciting conversation. Have a brilliant weekend and see you next time. Bye for now. I remain Farida Yahya.
In the heart of our fields lies the future of agriculture, sustainable, innovative, and powered by smart solutions. From the rich